Good morning, everybody. It should be a good Yantiv today. A good Tu B'Shvat to everybody. Things we can't see under the ground. Tu B'Shvat's the holiday of believing that something's happening even if you can't see it. It's a big Inyan. Big Inyan. In the month of Shvat, we're learning, sponsored by the Pollux, Leilin Nishmas Shimon ben Moshe, Tzvi ben Mordechai, and Shira Rachma Basra Alter Nasen Nata. And also for the Zivug Hagun for Daniela Chana Bat Sarah Libby. And the week is sponsored by Shlomit Kofler Weinrib, memory of her brother, David Kofler, Alav Shalom. All right, so we're going to wrap up today this mimer called Simchat Yerushalayim Yerachok. And just a quick recap of the end of last week's shir, where the Baal Shem Tov gave us permission for something. What did the Baal Shem Tov give us permission for? To understand the time of day that we're living in. It's already Erev Shabbos Mincha. After Mincha, Erev Shabbos, which means that you could do Tosefet Shabbat, or you could wait till Shabbos comes in order to have Shabbos, right? That's what we learned last week, more or less. You could either wait, Be'emet, till Yom Shekulah Shabbos, till everything is perfect, till Mashiach is here, to allow yourself to be tapped into any Shalvas HaNefesh, serenity of the soul, or you could do what we try to do every week, which is to take in Shabbos a little bit early. Never before has there ever, been such a great need to borrow time from the future, to take in Shabbos early, which would mean to allow ourselves to already now, in the time that we're in right now, to already have Shalom Bayit between our bodies and our souls. So therefore, we're going to end up here in today's Shir by Rav Kluger to understand what's the technique, a beautiful ending of how. How does one do this? How does one do this? And I think that it's so apropos, so shayach to the world that that Hashem wanted us to be alive in, and the time that we're alive in right now. When people when people pass away, we always say about them, they went to Olam Ha-Emet, which means that the world that we're in is Olam Ha-Sheker. So I never really understood that till today's context. What does that mean that the world that Hashem created here is called Olam HaSheker? And why would Hashem want us to spend time in Olam HaSheker? Like, at a certain point, you have to ask yourself, is my job here in this world to call out everything as just one big sheker? Now, there are people that's their whole mitzias is basically going through everything in this world and realizing, Zeh sheker, Zeh sheker, Zeh sheker. They're not really fun to hang out with people like this because, it's so good to see you. It's so, what a beautiful Shabbos meal. Like everything becomes, everything. No, not Shabbos, because Shabbos is, not Shabbos. But everything else is basically the Olam HaSheker. Oh, that looks so good on you. Thank you. No, that's Olam HaSheker, At a certain point, it becomes just too much to handle. Like if everything is sheker, then what am I busy doing here? How could I manage? What could I do in this world? What we're going to try to understand today is how does that work simultaneously? How do we live? How do we understand living in a world that's Olam HaSheker while borrowing time from the future where it's not Olam HaSheker? Now, obviously, in today's day and age, in the world that we're in, what's in front of us, never before have we felt on such a grand scale that we really are living in Olam HaSheker. Like it's not so hard to really feel that. It stinks. It's not fun. It's not enjoyable. It doesn't make you feel that much better. You'd think, if I could identify Sheker, I'd start feeling much better. It's not necessarily like that. It's a very interesting thing. And then Olam HaEmet ad 120 shana, right? Then, after 120 years. And to be able to understand how Hashem created the world, we have to go back to a very, very important midrash that I'm sure many of you remember. But the way that the tzaddik teaches it is going to be shedding a lot, at least for me, shedding a lot of light on looking back at a midrash that all of us know, but I think it'll give us a new zavit reya, a new angle of looking at it. So on the pages that you have in front of you, on the copies, it's the paragraph that's on Ot Vav that says Elohim Divrei Chazal. on the Sefer that most of you have, I don't know what page it is. Kuf Yud. Elohim Divrei Chazal. Okay, very good. So, Elohim Divrei Chazal, Rav Kluger is reminding us of the Midrash and Bereshis Rabbah regarding the creation of the world. Shamalachim ta'anu l'Hashem Yitbarach leval yivarei ha'adam shekulo shkarim. Angels came before Hashem, and they said to Hashem, why would you create human beings? It's all sheker. That's a famous Midrash. But Rav Kluger is medayek here, and he says, who are these angels that said that you shouldn't create the world because man is all just about a pile of lies? It's the midah of emet. Remember, it says that all these different midot, Hashem consulted with different midot to come and say, should I create the world? Should I not create the world? So the diuk here is that the midah of emes is the one that told Hashem, midat amet hi shetana kach beram Hashem yitbarach emet malkeinu lo ava lekabla shenemar vatashlech emet arza. But Hashem yitbarach looks at those angels, or looks at that midah called the midah of emet, and he says, I'm throwing you down to the earth. Vatashlech emet arza. So Hashem took this thing of emes, and he basically enabled the world to still exist by taking the midah of emet and throwing it down into the ground. That's the way we understand the Midrash. But it's still a lot of questions over here. He'edif al panea emet acheret. Rav Kluger says, it's not that he got rid of the midah of emet, and therefore he was able to create the world and say, no, sheker could be here. It's that God rathers a different type of emes to be in the world. Now this is very deep. This is very, very, very deep. Again, He'edif al panea emet acheret, shene'emar emet me'eretz titzmach. A different emes, which is called emes will sprout forth from the land, from the ground. Hi ha'emet la'amita. This is the level of emes la'amita. Reb Nachman has a lot on this, and the difference, these two levels of truth. Truth and truth of truth. I think I shared with you one time the story that Reb Nassan came to Reb Nachman and told him he was offered a position as a Rav somewhere. And Reb Nachman said to him, and Reb Nassan wanted to know, should I take on this gig? So Reb Nachman said to him, no, you shouldn't, because, this, only an insane person would accept upon themselves to be a Rav of a community. And also you have to run away from these things for dear life. But then, and Reb Nassan's like, yeah, of course. Right? But then Reb Nachman said, no, but on the level of emes la'amita, you should. Because you are that person that would want to run away from all this and knows that it's crazy. And so you understand there's emes and there's emes la'amita, and it's a lot of different, you could plug this into a lot of different places. Like there's a lot of things about our lives. On the level of emet, it's not shayach. But on the level of emet la'amita, it is shayach. And vice versa. There are a lot of people, a lot of things, level of emes, it is shayach. But on the level of emes la'amita, it's not shayach. Okay, there's a lot of different examples. I don't want to go into it right now. But for here, it's that Hashem said, this emet that you're talking about, malachim, I got to throw you out of this. This is not, I'm throwing you down, and a new world of emet la'amita, a new world of emet will sprout forth from the ground, from this world, something you malachim have no shaykhs to and you can't understand. On the level of emet, you're right. On the level of emet la'amita, you're not right, angels. Midah of emet, you're not right. This is gonna get a little bit clearer soon. היא האמת לאמיתה האומרת שאכן הנברא כולה שקרים, right? אך דייקה הוא שיעלה נחת רוח ועונג. But it's dafka, true, that people, us, that are absorbed with so much lies around us, we are the ones that are able to bring nachat ruach and oneg before HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And re'eze ma'amar chazal she'Hashem yitbarach shehu Keil emunah. What does it mean? It says in Azinu, God is a God of emunah. This is so beautiful. Shehe'emin ba'olam uvra'o. God believed in the world and then he created it. This is so powerful. The world that we see in front of us, which is the world of sheker, can make a person think that the last few psukim of Parshat Bereshit are the real truth. What are the last few psukim of Parshat Bereshit? For the Parsha? that God says, I'm looking at what I created, and I'm getting sad in my heart, and I regret creating it. Then we have, of course, Noach comes and saves the day, the last pasuk in Parshat Bereshit. But based on the last few psukim before that, Hashem doesn't believe in the world that He created. That's the end of Parshat, the kimat, the end of Parshat Bereshit. Hashem does not believe in the world that He created. Now, for us today, if we didn't have pnimius, if we weren't drinking from the Baal Shem Tov and his world, like Be'emet, think about it. You look at the whole world, and what does it seem? It seems like mamash. It could seem so convincing as well that this installation, this world we see in front of us, I don't identify God's belief in what I see in front of me. Do you understand what we just said? I'm looking at the world. I'm saying, like, wait a second. Kelemuna, Hashem, you believed in the world and created it, and I'm looking in front of me, and I'm saying, the God that I believe in, doesn't believe in the world that is in front of me, right? You understand how this could be govel on apikosis, even, right? This is borderline chalila apikosis, but we're trying to make a very, very powerful point. And you know what Hashem says when you look at Him and you say, "This world, this is not the world that you believe in. I don't believe in that. This is what you believe in, Hashem." What does Hashem say back to you? What does Hashem say back to the person that looks at this world and says, "This can't be the world that you believe in"?
Look deeper.
Look deeper.
You're right.
Oh, well.
You're right. What else?
Welcome to the new world.
Welcome to the new world. Okay, that's interesting.
So make it the world.
So make it. Wait, what's that?
So make it the world that I believe in.
So make it the world that I believe. So Hashem says that's like a very big Chabad, So like, I know it's the first time you're probably. I'm saying. So it's basically saying you're right. Like exactly. But you know who else had this question? Avram Avinu. So every person that comes to that conclusion, Hashem is saying, I wasn't waiting for you to come here and tell me it's sheker. You're right. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is saying to each person that comes to the realization that this can't be the world the way it is that you believe in. Hashem is saying to each person that comes to that conclusion, I've been waiting for you. Mamash. I've been waiting for you. I've been waiting for you to call out all the sheker. That is the purpose of the Bria. The Bria, God didn't create a perfect world. God created a world waiting for those to open their eyes and join God in changing over the whole world. That's the work we're here to do in this world. And that's the emet la'amita. That's the real truth. The truth is, it's all sheker. The emet la'amita is, but it's been waiting for you to call it out and now do something about it.
It's not the world that Hashem believes in, it's the people.
I'm sorry, I just can't hear.
It's not the world that Hashem believes in, it's the people.
It's not the world that Hashem believes in. What's the difference between the two?
Between the world and people, it's the
Yeah.
same reason why we celebrate Adam Alishon and not the creation of the world.
Rosh Hashanah, you're talking about. Yeah.
Meaning, because Hashem's not saying, I believe in this world, He's saying, I believe the people that I brought into this world.
Because otherwise we would celebrate Chaf Hei Elul. Yeah, that's interesting. That's very good. Nachon. Okay. So the end of this paragraph says, Hashem Yitbarach hu kele emunah she'yamin ba'olam u'bra'o shelo ba'u bnei adam liot resha'im ela liot tzadikim. Like the point here is not like, if it's olam ha'sheker, let me try to become a shakran. If this is actually olam ha'sheker, I'm just going to let me represent. Many people are mamish excelling in that. Let me represent the olam ha'sheker. No, it's let me call it out and flip over the whole world. B'ashra'at hagalut hamara, and through the inspiration of the bitter exile, ro'eh Yehudi rak et hakulo shkarim shebo. So because of galus, because of the state of exile that we're in, so a Jew looks around and he sees all he sees is, inside of him also sometimes is what he sees outside of him. Kulo shkarim. The outside, the Rambam says that the greatest influence on the man is his surrounding. Because you start to view yourself, you start to experience yourself like connected what you see outside of you. And that's a very, very heavy thing. And that's the test of this door. Can you not view yourself based on what you're looking at? It's not your mirror. It's your indicator as to what to run so far away from, as opposed to being your mirror of what's going on inside. בהשראת הגלות המרה רואה יהודי רק את הכולו שקרים שבו. אבל התנוצצות גאולה היא להביט אל אותה אמת מארץ מצרך שבנפשו. A spark of geula is basically living Tu B'Shvat every single day. Because on Tu B'Shvat, like we said in the beginning of Shir, it's emet me'eretz titzmach. There is something that is growing right now that currently, when it was planted, it rots. It's integrated with dirt, with sheker, keilu, what represents sheker. And yet I believe that something so beautiful will be grown out of it. But if I don't have enough koyach and the patience to just say it's sheker, but something's going to grow out from it, but I start calling it emet, nothing will grow out of it. Tztomeret. And this connects very much to what we were learning yesterday in the men's shir. The first stage of recognizing, of transforming darkness into light is calling out darkness for what it is. And not pretending that, no, it's really good, I just can't see it. No. It's dark out there. It's sheker out there. It really is. It really, really is. But that's out there. It's like Zusha has that beautiful song on Hanukkah. My kids know it really well. It's dark outside, but it's light in here? Right, it's dark outside, but it's light in here. Right. אבל התנוצצות גאולה היא להביט אל אותה אמת מארץ תצמח שבנפשו. על גילוי אלוקי שיהודי זוכה להעלות מתוך הארציות, מתוך המעמקים שהוא תובע בהם חסר אונים. Like there's no heter to ever say that I'm rotten. There's no heter to ever come to that conclusion in the name of truth, that I'm also rotten. No one ever gives you that heter. You could always say it about everything you see outside, but no one ever gave you the heter to say, no, that's a reflection of mamish me, and I'm kulo shkarim as well. I may have absorbed a lot of shkarim, but I definitely have not really, I can't become kulo sheker, because I'm a chelek elokam imal. I can never become that. Now, he gives a mashal over here. Derech mashal. יהודי עוצם עיניו מראות ברע, אף שכבר אין לו מכך סיפוק ובשמחה, בהיותו רוחו נפולה כבר, פגועה ומרה. So a Jew has to close his eyes from seeing anything bad, even though it doesn't bring him any simcha to do that anymore, because you're so... Who gets simcha by closing their eyes from looking at the darkness of the world? Does that make you happy? Or do you just feel like you're being saved in the moment? It doesn't bring you simcha. But just know, Rav Kluger says, when you close your eyes from the sheker of the world, you may not be feeling something so elated and beautiful. But having emunah and Hashem al pitoras abal Shem Tov is you have to believe that at that moment that you choose to close your eyes from the sheker of the world, Rega kazeh hu gilui kvod shamayim ba'ofen na'ala. What did you do at that moment? You revealed kavod shamayim in the world. V'Hashem itbarach sachs v'sameach al kach. And this brings tremendous nachas to Hashem, even if you don't feel it. But maybe you can get out of yourself for a second and say, it's not about me. What brings kavod shamayim to the world? And if what I'm doing brings kavod shamayim to the world, maybe I could tap into that which makes Hashem really happy. So what are we saying? Usually we're waiting to feel happy and feel good by things that make us feel good. But a more pnimius dika simcha is the emunah that sometimes I do things that maybe don't make me feel personally so elated, but if I get out of the picture and it stops being about me, and I stop and saying, you know what? This right now, choosing to be an Avram Avinu in the moment where everything around me is still choshech, this brings so much nachas ruach before Hashem. This actually makes Hashem so elated and so besimcha. Maybe I'll join and tap myself into what makes Hashem happy instead of just waiting to always feel good. To feel good. It's a completely different world of simcha.
Is it from the Baal of Havdalah, separation?
It's the first. It's the first. Yeah, but then there's Achna and Amtaka, but it's the first shlav, nachon, Havdalah. Yeah, remember, what is this whole parak about? It's about shalom bayis. It's about having peace between the body and the soul. Usually what makes us feel good are not necessarily things, perhaps, that I could say, oh, this is bringing Hashem so much simcha. But what about if it was about bringing Hashem simcha and then tapping into it? It'd be a completely different approach to the world of simcha. Here Rav Kluger said, you're stuck in a world of sheker. Closing my eyes and calling out the sheker doesn't necessarily make me besimcha. It may make me feel more lonely, even at times. Like many of my friends that are very just integrated more in the outside world, and especially those that live in Chutz La'aretz, have discussed with me quite often how many friends they lost over the last few months. Associates, people at work, associates at work, people they can't believe that certain people they thought that that loved them, that they clearly did not take a stand, or even worse, right? When after Simchas Torah. So you're davuk to the midah of emet, which could even hurt, because it could even make you feel more lonely sometimes. But if you yourself get out of the picture and you say, I'm an Eved Hashem. Everything I try to do in this world is to bring more of a relation of God's Kavod Shamayim. And I learned in a shir from Rav Kluger that says that when you close your eyes from all the sheker, it's not supposed to feel so, wow, I want to go dance right now. But you will start to feel like you want to dance soon once you realize that what you did brought tremendous nachat ruach in Shamayim. And that's hard. Because usually we think the things that want to make us feel really good are going to make us want to dance right away. But that's not how it works when it comes to the emet la'amita, the pnimius of the lev. So when was the last time someone did a mitzvah and they were conscious of the fact that what they're doing right now brings tremendous pleasure to God, and it made you as happy as whatever else makes you happy that doesn't go through that whole train of thought? Let's be very shallow, but real, okay? What's the last time someone was willing to say here, something made them very happy? Don't tell me what you think I want to hear. Let's just be real.
Something we ate.
Thank you. Yes. That's the deepest thing you could have said right now. Okay? She's been here for a while, so 100%. 100%. That brings me simcha, right? But am I able to elevate that? Tzaddikim maybe can, maybe you can, but I'm saying like the normal person, maybe they can't really just be like, oh my God, the fact that I'm happy over one of the creations of God that went into my system must bring Hashem so much nachas, because every parent wants their children to feel happy. It's generally not how we relate to things that bring us instant happiness, right? But now flip that over. When was the last time we did a mitzvah? Okay, we did a mitzvah. And the consciousness with which we did it was that right now, I must be giving Hashem tremendous amount of pleasure. Like, when was the last time I woke up in the morning in Eretz Yisrael with the awareness of my decision to be here and go to sleep here and wake up here every day brings God an amazing amount of nachas? I'm going to start dancing. Yesh keilu, there's yechidim sometimes. Yeah, you have some of the chavra, plucked from different worlds. Yeah.
Yeah, so is it a lower level? Hashem loves when we love his children, when we love each other.
Right.
So, like, I paid a shiva call yesterday, not to a chayal, not to some family I don't know, to someone who doesn't live here and happens to be sitting shiva here. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
This is meaningful. Like, I'm doing something meaningful. It's really going to mean a lot to her. I'm sure giving pleasure to Hashem, like somewhere maybe, but just trying to understand where does that fit in.
It definitely. No, that was just an example that we were able to say here, because we have to focus on the mitzvah of Eretz Yisrael more than ever. But of course, every mitzvah that you do in the emet la'amito brings nachat to Hashem. He's speaking about a very deep level of bringing nachat to Hashem, is when you look at the lie in its eyes and you say, I call you out on this. I'm not buying this. This is not the emet. And you close your eyes from it. So that's what you're speaking about, is a mitzvah saseh, and of course that brings a lot of nachas to Hashem. Every mitzvah we do. The shaila is, how much does that really mashpia in my heart? Like, did you leave that shiva thinking, wow, this was like a really, a moment that if I had an image of Shamayim right now, I would see a Tish and a Fabrengen and Hashem doing a l'chaim with everyone saying, look at my kinderlich. He's saying, you believe that when you choose to call out sheker in the world, they do that for bringing in Shemaim, and Hashem invites all the tzaddikim to sit at the table, and he looks at the midah of emes that came to him in the beginning and said, don't create this world, and he gives them the mic and he says, okay, you want to say anything? You have anything to say? That's a deeper level of bringing nachat HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But the point that I was saying was that neither of those things bring us immediate simcha. The way we know it, like from food, right? Yeah.
It could be a selfish simcha, though. Like, I came here thinking, oh, I want to do mitzvahs, for the soldiers. So when I put batteries for a whole day into flashlights. But I wonder, simcha, was it really simple for me? It made me feel good.
Right.
Did it really, like, panemius, like, really get it? I don't know.
Not yet, but that's a shlav towards it. You see, we're not trying to say it's either everything or nothing. We're building blocks, right? So it's good you're calling it out at least. You're saying, like, I did a holy thing.
Yeah, now I could, like, feel, oh, wow,
So that's listen, Mechila, and please forgive me for saying this, but I've been mamish, like, there's been no muzzle on this mouth this week for some reason, is that we're getting to a shlav even with all the holy chevra that we have that are on missions. At a certain shlav, it's like I want to challenge one mission to come here and not take one picture or one video. Do everything you do not take out your pocket computer. Like that would be the ultimate. Like someone, again, no filter. Someone called me 2 months ago, and he said to me, Shlomo, what? How come you're not going to any of the chayalim? Like, how could it be you're not going to any of the chayalim? Now, this is someone that's okay. It's nobody, but it's someone. And I said to him, what are you talking about? He's like, you haven't posted anything. I said, yeah, I only, I didn't know how to really respond. It only happens if it's, you're right, Meaning, but like this, I want to now let's go backwards, the kav schut in it. On the level of the pashtus of emes, everyone has been doing the most incredible, deep, and holy things that are needed for Am Yisrael, and the chayalim have been benefiting from each person, whether they post or they don't post. The chayalim are getting what they're getting, nachon? But we're talking here right now about avodah pnimis, that has nothing to do with anything but, is this megala your kavod shamayim in the world? That's a very high level. But it's so worthwhile to aim towards getting there. Like the real pnimius, like the real art of the Baal Shem Tov has nothing to do with the outside stuff. It's all inside. It's all deep stuff inside. But that would be amazing. And you know what? If I'm saying it about missions that come here, it would be true about anything. Like, could it be that if we did something that mamish no one knows about, like we learned a few years ago, do you have any secrets with Hashem? Right? I don't remember when we did this. This is a long time ago. At least 4 or 5 years ago we were speaking about this. Like, do you have any secrets with Hashem? Because a secret we have with God, the more that you hold on to it, it makes you more and more beautiful. The moment you share it and you let it out, that beauty goes out of you. It's a Torah from Reb Nachman. Reb Shlomo used to say this. The pasuk in we say in Kabbalah Shabbos, we say, Oz v'tiferet b'migdasho. Oz, strength, right? You need a lot of strength in order to hold back from letting the whole world know about your tiferet. But Oz v'tiferet produces a mikdasho. And that's how you build the Beis HaMikdash. It was a beautiful teaching. Oz, if I have Oz over my tiferet, then I end up with the Beis HaMikdash. Right? And so I'm someone that from the moment that this whole social media thing began, I'm constantly in battle trying to understand, like, how much is it really, really about the reach, which many of you are living proofs to the recipient of using the social media aspect of it, as opposed to when does it stop being about really trying to find the shamas and just about showing what you did. It's a constant battle. And anyone says they're not in that battle, they're not human. I can't relate to them. To be real, mamash, to be crystals. So we're speaking up here about acknowledging that there are certain things that you don't post on social media. You can't basically express this to anyone besides yourself when you close your eyes from darkness and call out the sheker, for real, for real, for real. That's something that just happens between you and the Ribono Shel Olam. And Rav Kluger is saying that in that moment that I do that, I bring such simcha to Hashem. And eventually, if I do more and more of those moments, that simcha that I know that I bring God makes me happier than anything, that type of simcha that I just do for myself. That's not with the consciousness and awareness of the Ribono Shel Olam.
But shouldn't you spread it after?
I'm sorry?
Shouldn't you spread it after out?
How? That's the $1 million question. How?
Unfortunately, social media is the way. Like if you're doing it from the emet point of view, that like seeing other people do it, still it encourages people to do it.
Right. It does.
But
But the keeping yourself in constant check that it stays that is a very deep avoda. It's not so simple.
The sheker is out, right? Like people see a lot of sheker on the social media and media in general.
Right.
And if there's the few people that can actually do this work and cover their eyes and say this is sheker, and they tap into the light, so they should be spreading it out even more.
It's true. Right, no. It's true. If anyone should, it should be that chevra, but they should probably hire someone that does it for them. They should probably hire someone that does that for them, that they don't get entangled in it. Yeah, that's the dream.
I keep thinking about the story with when Miriam is speaking to Aaron, and who defends Moshe? Not Moshe. Hashem comes and says,
Right.
you don't know, I speak to
Yeah.
Moshe's not showing it up.
Right. Bichai is the ultimate, nachon. But for us, I just want to give us koach to understand you will eventually reach the deepest place of shalom bayis between your body and your soul before Mashiach comes, while we're still wrapped in a world of olam hasheker, and you say, I'm out of here, it's Friday afternoon, I'm bringing Shabbos in early. Now, as an example, that was one of the hardest things, but also one of the most liberating things to do the first few weeks of the war, was to turn our phones off, or not to turn it off, but at least to put it away and not be glued to it every second because of what was going on. And yet, we had this, at least I could speak for myself. I said to myself, what gives me the heter to be able to say, no, I'm going into Shabbos now. There's a war out in there in the world. But now it's already, the energy of that has changed. Now Erev Shabbos can come in on Sunday. It can come in on Monday. It can come in on Tuesday. It can come in on any day of the week. What is it? How does that, how? By just saying what I see is not real. It's not the truth. That's the deep thing. I could call something out, but it still affects me. But if I call it out with the consciousness of this is bringing nachat to Hashem, the sheker has no influence on me. It does nothing to me. I'm a free person. There's so many stories of the Alter Rebbe and the Frierdiker Rebbe, and a lot of the tzaddikim, while they were this famous story of the Alter Rebbe on the boat and the Frierdiker Rebbe in prison also, when what you're doing, when you call out sheker so clearly to yourself, nothing can really mashpi on you. You have pain over Am Yisrael that's suffering, but the reality of the lie that's so thick in the world does nothing to you, because you've invited Gilui Kvod Malchus Shamayim into your being, and it really becomes about Hashem. And that type of simcha, there's no greater simcha in the world than that. And it may not look like the simcha of getting up and dancing, but there's no greater simcha than having shalom bayis, and everyone knows that. And we're talking about shalom bayis. The simcha of shalom bayis is not something that is perhaps something that can be seen, because it's happening so deep inside between body and soul. The simcha of shalom bayis is a result of bringing nachat ruach HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's more or less how he's been. We went off a little bit of a tangent, but that's really That's really what he says. Go back into the middle of this paragraph, Derech Mashal. You see the words Kivyachol? Do you see it inside, the word Kivyachol? Or I'll just read from the beginning of it, okay? Derech Mashal, Yehudi otzem einav mirot bera. אף שכבר אין לו מכך סיפוק ושמחה, ביות רוחו נפולה כבר פגועה ומרה. How many levayas have we been to these last few months? How many shiva calls have we gone to? How many hospitals, how many stories, how many hundreds of orphans are there and widows and the choshech val choshech. So the fact that I close my eyes right now and I say the world is sheker, it's not gonna, I'm too beaten down right now for that to actually make me feel happy. I am. It's not supposed to make me happy in the way that I understand happiness. It's not supposed to make me feel so gewalt and good and holy. But if Kluger is saying at that moment, you're made a gilui kvod shamayim, Hashem Yisbarach has real, tremendous simcha from it. Why? Because kivyachol menatzeach et ta'anat malachav. Because at that moment, you yourself looked into the eyes of the angels that told God, don't create the world because everyone will become sheker. And you, thousands of years after the world was created, are standing up next to Kisei HaKavod, looking at the angels, the midah of Emet, that said, don't create the world, everything's sheker, and you're saying, not me. That's a big thing. That's not a little thing. You ever think, can you imagine like taking a few seconds and doing a visualization of this? That the moment that I call out it's sheker, what I'm really doing is Hashem is like saying, okay, come here. Let's go back in time, Keilu, and show the malach that came to me and said, don't create the world, the man is full of shkarim. I want them to see how they were wrong. What a moment. What a deep experience that is. Kivyachol menatzeach et ta'anat malachav be'aroto lahem, because you're showing them, shehine hakulo shkarim, שלדבריהם מוטב היה כי בל יברא, הנה הוא בעצמיכו אמת מארץ, אורות מאופל, קדושה מתוך הנפול, והמייאש החשוך. The darkening despair, the holiness that comes from such a darkening despair, holiness that comes, emet that comes from being thrown into the ground, which means into the world, products of being people that are completely surrounded by all the materialistic lusts with which a person has to kind of maneuver through in this world. And ve'afal pichen. Everyone wants to be loved. Everyone wants likes. Everyone wants to be the popular voice in the name of justice, the name of whatever sounds more enticing. And I'm looking at all that and I'm saying, ich bin a Yid, right? I'm a Jew and none of this matters. It's all sheker. It's all sheker. Hashem says, you couldn't have imagined that such a product could ever be produced from such a world. But I did. Hashem says, I did. That was the kavanah of Bria. This is the real kavanah of Bria. The real kavanah of creation of the world wasn't that it should be a world of lies. It should be to produce people like this. The Jewish people. This is who we are, the Jewish people. Bnei Yisrael. כאשר יהודי נעשה בהיר בכך שמציאות חייו כפי שהיא כולה שקרים, the more that a Jew becomes clear on the fact that reality as he or she knows it in this world is all sheker, מקיימת קורת רוח עילאית להשם יתברך. You are bringing, it uses all this different terminology. Korat ruach. I don't even know how to say that. Esti, how would you say that? Yeah, it's just a prettier way of, although nachat's like the prettiest word, but it's a deeper word of saying it brings nachat Hashem yitbarach. B'me'at shemevi kfi yecholto, with that little bit of calling out sheker, the little bit of it, yesh bo et hakoach liot besimcha lamrot hakol ubiglal hakol. So lamrot hakol, despite everything and because of everything, you, with ways that we could never explain to the world, if I know that I am with my nekudah of emet, in the face of all the sheker, no circumstance could ever take away from me the ability to feel real pnimius dikas simcha. Because the greatest simcha a person wants in this life is to feel real. That's really what it is. The greatest simcha a person really wants, whether they're aware of it or not, is that they want to feel that they are being real. And calling out sheker, no matter what's going on around me, as painful as that may be, it's a painful loneliness you may end up with, but it leads you to a place of simcha pnimit, real simcha. Real simcha. Kama horu tzadikim leba'ei sha'areihem liot besimcha, right? He's saying, you go to any Hasidic Tish, at the end of the day, the Rebbe says everything, but really, all the Talmidim of the Baal Shem Tov told their students, like, okay, so what's their whole Torah? Tiyu besimcha, right? Now, usually, when you're on your journey in the middle of it, and someone tells you, be besimcha, that's the last thing you feel in that moment. You usually, bemet, like, you want to punch them. You want to throw them away. It's like, you don't get me. You don't get me. You think that Biba Simcha, Kita Aleph stuff is going to work on me? Do you know how broken I am? And the command, Tiyu Simcha, isn't saying, things are so good, Biba Simcha. What the command is really saying, Biba Simcha, because you've conquered a level of real reality, of Emet La'amito. Biba Simcha, because you're actually fulfilling the purpose of creation, for a person to come into this world and dispel the darkness. Be besimcha over that, not because life is great. Be besimcha because of the realization you're coming to. That's enough of a reason to be besimcha. That's how Rav Kluger is understanding the commandment, tiyu besimcha. כמה הורו צדיקים לבאי שערים להיות בשמחה, כמעט אין לך חסיד שלא שמע מצמד מילים אלה מפי רבותיו. וגוללו לפניהם את מצוקתו הרוחנית. You come to a Rebbe, you're pouring out the whole thing, and it's all the suffering and the trials and the tribulations, and the Rebbe ends up in saying, Be v'simcha. And it's so hard to hear that, but the tzaddikim know and understand that that really is the ma'aneh of the nefesh. That's what the soul is really longing for. It's to be b'simcha over the fact that I'm calling out sheker in the world. But what happens is, v'adayin notar halev atum midiklot et divrei HaKodesh, but the heart remains sealed and shut to receive the word, the holy words. Ki ech efshar lismoach b'matzav hazeh. Next page. How could on the handouts? Ech efshar lismoach b'matzav hazeh. Because how could I be happy right now under the conditions that I'm in? How could I be b'simcha right now? Beram be'akiro et omek hakavana שהשמחה היא הכרה בהירה בתפקיד המיוחד אשר נכון לו, יוכל כל יהודי לקבל ולהיות בשמחה. I'm going to say that again, okay? I'm going to read it outside. Rav Kluger says, how can a Yid be prepared to hear the commandment, Bibi b'simcha, once it's become clear to you that simcha is clearly recognizing that our tafkid in this world is calling out the sheker? If my tafkid in this world is to find ways that make me happy, and someone says, Bi b'simcha, while I'm surrounded by hell, then you're right, I can't hear any of that because my heart's sealed and shut to that. But if I have a clear recognition, hakara brura, a clear recognition that the real simcha of life is being able to call out sheker, that will lead me to the realest simcha, most real simcha, there's nothing that can prevent that from me. No life circumstance could ever take that away from me. There's nothing that could happen in this world. No enslaver, there's nothing that could take it away from me. Eventually. See, we think it doesn't work instantly, though. That's the Indian, and it definitely doesn't work instantly when you're running from Levaya to Levaya. So the horrible thing would be to come out of the shir and be like, there must be something wrong with me because I know there's sheker in the world, but I'm not feeling besimcha. That's because there's so much pain in the Am right now. There's so much pain, but to understand who we are as a nation right now, we are bringing incredible nachat ruach HaKadosh Baruch Hu by holding on to the truth, by closing our eyes from the whole world. Yesterday, to torture myself, I listened to Galei Tzahal as I was picking up one of my kids from somewhere, and there's one, like those of you that grew up in Israel, there's certain figures in your life that you just want to strangle, or you want to ask Hashem, why did you give them a microphone? How could it be that they got a microphone for Am Yisrael right now? How could it be? How could it be that they have the hashpah and so many yidden? So, don't worry, your husband is a tikkun. I'm just saying, your husband is a shadar. He's on a channel 14. He's gewalt. He's gewalt. He's
Highly recommended.
100%. I'm talking about Galit Sahal. It's a very, very intense klipa. This is not. There's no aspiration to become Israeli to in this level at all. Just so you should know. Just I grew up like this from such a young age, right? And just to show you how much like the tefillas that this is not clear yet. It's not yet clear to everyone like this. You know, there's a kenes. There's this big, hopefully, a big gathering on Sunday, I think, of also certain Knesset members, and I think 3,000 people that are gathering in Yerushalayim to start discussing the ribonut on Gaza, sovereignty over Gaza again, right? I think every single Jew should be there. Mamash, every single Jew should be there. So the Mera'ayenet, the interviewer, called up a woman that's very involved in this. Her name is Daniela Weiss. That's the woman that's involved in organizing this. She's been a big activist for many, many years. She lives in Kedumim. I think she's one of the founders at Maryland. Do you know her? Daniela Weiss? Yeah. She's a mamash, Isha Eshet Eretz Yisrael. And the Merayenet starts asking her, she's trying to like, either like the whole world that's listening to her is on her side. The interviewer is asking her, she's like, did you ever hear of a thing called The Hague? Belittling her and the whole conference. Did you ever hear of a thing called The Hague? Haven't we gotten them already too upset? And it was so hard to hear because she has a microphone for Am Yisrael right now, this woman. And this is the woman that all the women's rights, the chila, but all the women's rights stuff, she's in the front lines always. And whenever there's a chance to like, you know, take a stand and for all the things today that a lot of the Olam HaSheker, when it's convenient for them, represent. I'm being very careful, you know. And I'm thinking, like, to myself, like, Hague is the greatest sheker of this generation in our face. Den Haag, right? It is such a sheker, and a yid that still thinks that we have to be po'el al pi that doesn't have any simcha in their life. That's what I was feeling. I knew we were going to learn this. And I was saying, there's no way that this person has real shalom bayis. Because she's a Yiddish neshama at the end of the day. And her neshama is in jail. In jail. Absolutely incarcerated in the body. And I started having simcha. You know what? Not because the truth is she's in jail. Because I'm not. I'm not. Hague means it doesn't. And then I started having simcha after being so broken that a person has to have a little bit of a simcha about that his own shtickle elokus isn't in jail, at least on that level, right? So that's what Rav Kluger is saying. If you could find in yourself that nekuda that no matter what is going on in the world, you've called out sheker. Understand, you have the ability to be tuned in to simcha she'ena tluya b'davar. Simcha that's not dependent on anything. The other simchas are smachot she'tluyot b'davar. Even going to a shiva and feeling good about it, or what did you say you were doing? Flashlights? Packing battery? Those are great things, but the simcha was dependent on doing an action, right? It's a simcha, meaning simcha. It's a nachat. But then there's a reality she'ena that brings about a simcha she'ena tluya b'davar. That it's not dependent on anything other than calling out sheker in the world.
Thought is higher than action.
100%. Thought is higher than action. Nachon. Now he says over here, if you really want to be able to live like this, so now he gives a little push to find yourself a Rebbe or a Rav. He says, "Lelo koach hatzadikim hadavar eno bar efsharut." But all this stuff we just said right now, you can't just keep on running back to this sefer and read these paragraphs to remember this. He says, "Ki zeh seder habriya sheyised Hashem yitbarach." Hashem created the world in such a way, sheyuchal mekabel leha'alot pri rak bekablo mashpia umeir. The only way a tree can produce a fruit is if it receives rain and sunlight. There's no other way that it could just sprout forth. So we have to keep on, lahashkot et hagan. We have to keep on, how do you say that? To water the garden. We water our garden in order for it to produce something. Ke'adama la'achar klitat hageshem, like the land, like after it receives rainwater. Kevan shezochim nishmot Yisrael itkashrut biyesodei olam ulekabel mehem or zarua, en lanu ki im lehatot oznei lev לבשורה הגדולה המתדפקת וקוראת בעיצומה של הגלות, ישראל אתם בני kel chai. He's saying, since we merit to this incredible hiskashrus, to the foundations of the world, yesodei olam are tzaddikim, and to receive from them or zarua, planted light, all we have to do is just turn our ears a bit clearer and deeper to everything they've told us. Really, he's focusing from the time of the Baal Shem Tov, that if you really hear, if you're really willing to ignore the world and choose to listen to people that are unaffected by the sheker, which are the tzaddikim, what can you hear? You can hear the words Yidlach, B'ni Kel Chai. You're the sons of the living God. Tachlit neshama, beha'arata b'shutafa halach v'ne'eman. Hashkinu shalom ben nishmatchem legufchem. Place peace between your neshamas and your bodies. לא כבעל חסד המוכן לעשות טובה גדולה ולגמול משלו, למרבה עלבון המקבל, אלא כחתן היוצא לקראת כלה, כך תסכים נשמה בשמחה להחליף מהותה המופשטת במציאות חייה הרוחניים, עם הגוף המעשי כפי ערכו ודמותו. In a nutshell, what he's saying over here, this is like the end of everything he built up for. He's like, once you start doing this, you'll see that you'll be like, you're like, what's the key for shalom bayis? What's like one of the most like important keys for shalom bayis between husband and wife? C word. It starts with a C. Communication. Once you have this kind of language of your soul, the communication becomes much clearer between the body and the soul, because it's usually in this nigud interesim, which means like I want different things. But once the body says, the neshama never falls into sheker. But once the body, the mind, us, we say, I'm done with this, then it could start to understand the language of the soul. There's communication. Then things work with so much harmony. Kechatana yotzel kalato. It's such a union. There's such a togetherness. And he says, Zechel keinu b'binyan hamikdash. Our chelik in building Beis Hamikdash before the actual Beis Hamikdash is choosing to call out the sheker in the world. Habitui ha'olami ha'gadol l'shlom habayit ha'klali ben neshama le'mishkana. This tremendous expression of general shalom bayis between the neshama and the place that it's held in. Now the bottom paragraph over here is something we said last week. I'm just going to repeat it because it's the end of this wonderful mimer. Aaron HaKohen, remember who was the person that always represented Shalom Bayis in Am Yisrael? Aaron HaKohen. Oev Shalom, Rodev Shalom. The Midrashim speak about how he would bring Shalom between husband and wife and all different types of people. Aaron HaKohen haya oevet habriot, bria. He would love creations. Bria hina bitui liyitzur za'ir upa'ut she'en bo ma'alat zulat ruach chaim klusha. Loving someone just because they're created, because of nothing that's dependent on it, is the way Aaron HaKohen looked at every person. You're a shtickle elokus. You're worth loving. Just because you are. You're worth loving. And nonetheless, even though they didn't do anything in the world, Aaron HaKohen showed how precious we are just by the mere fact that we are. That's what a real Rebbe does. He doesn't just point out the good nekudat about you and tell you to focus on them. He comes to bring you to a place of being in awe of the fact that you are. I know it sounds insane, but you understand what I'm saying right now? When you're saying be in awe of the fact that you exist? That you exist. Or do you need to wait from a Nova survivor to say the same words that I just said in order to feel it? Because that's what they say. I wake up in the morning, and now my experience of just being is the greatest gift in the world. The avodas hanefesh of a yid is not to wait for a catastrophe to come to that realization. It's by internalizing the teachings of the Baal Shem Tov that I get there, not by emergency, by bechira, by choosing this. He would show a person just by the fact that they're there, that they're so special, and this is how they brought them closer to Torah. Like Aaron HaKohen lived in his life, the same koyach is alive in us as well. Le'ehov shalom v'lildov shalom. Le'ashkin shalva v'simcha ben neshama laguf. Everyone's so into going and doing shalom bayis by other people. It's a much more kedai inyan to first understand how to make shalom bayis between your own guf and neshama before you go off and try to make it between couples. This is the depth of the inner secret of the building and the destruction. Hatikun v'hanituk, the fixing and the disconnect. Hagalut v'hageula ha'omedet achar kotlenu, hine ba b'meira b'yameinu. Like Rav Kluger is saying, all this talk is so that you don't feel like an outsider when Mashiach actually comes. That you actually feel like an insider. Like you're not shocked by anything. It's not weird for you. It's all this type of avodas hanefesh is in order so that you'll actually feel so much more at home when Geula comes than you feel at home right now. Should be a huge amen to that one. Lekayem banu. So now, what was the name of this mimer? Does anyone remember? It says on the top. Simchat Yerushalayim merachok. That's the name of this mimer, right? So he says all of this is really what the pasuk means in Nehemiah. Lekayem banu mikra shene'emar ve'yizbechu bayom hahu zvachim gdolim ve'yismechu ki ha'elokim simcham simcha gdola ve'gam anashim va'yiladim samchu. Not just the ovdim, not just the rebbes and the tzaddikim. Ve'tishama simchat Yerushalayim merachok. And the Simcha of Yerushalayim will be heard even by far. So, of course, that's describing what's going to be, what's already happening right now. Hearing the Simcha of Yerushalayim from far is our platform of our Avodat Hashem today. The Simcha of Yerushalayim bebinyana, when it's rebuilt, everything will be fixed one day without all this Avodah. But Misha Tarach be'erev Shabbat yochal b'Shabbat. We want to be people that when Mashiach comes, as he's mamash going to be coming, it'll all feel completely aligned with us. We won't feel like we're, I was having certain conversations when the war first started, because people had this very interesting reaction of like, oh my God, this may be right now that Mashiach is coming because we're about to be annihilated again. Like it actually is going to happen again. And I believe Mashiach's going to come. So I would say, so why are you freaking out? Say, because I don't know if I'm really want Mashiach to come. Why not? Because it means that it's going to be so different than what I know now. So it was a big trigger for me to hear some of those conversations, and that's why all the learning we've been doing since then has really been so that as Mashiach's coming, we're not freaked out by it, actually. Like, we're hopefully inviting Shabbos early. Anyway, that should be for us a strong pillar of koyach. And I bless us all to have at least one moment a day when I stop and I do something. Now, the sheker is going to keep on growing. It's supposed to be like this also. The sheker is going to keep on growing. But for us, as individuals that can hold on to something, it would be just the greatest privilege. And I learned that this brings huge nachat ruach to Hashem right now. So Hashem Yisbarach, I know you're dancing right now. Have Rahmanas on your kids, we want to dance with you. If we do that more and more, the level of inner simcha that we'll be feeling will be something that we could, hayinu kecholmim, mamish. We should all be zocha for it. Bezrat Hashem.